Well, it's been a while since I've done an airsoft review, so forgive me if I stumble my way through this. But today I'm going to have a look at the ASG CZ75D CO2 airsoft pistol. So without further ado, let's have a look and see what's in the box. Excuse me, and forgive the lighting. Okay, so a couple of manuals. Of course, though good, because some of the Chinese stuff you get doesn't exactly come with a lot of literature with it. In the box itself you've got the mandatory free BBs just to get you started, this strange looking tool which I'll talk about later, your CO2 magazine, and of course the pistol itself. So let's have a look at these items in close-up. Now you'll forgive me if I don't actually go over the printed manuals that you get with this. You get two small manuals with it. But having said that, they are very, very good quality and are in English. But of the actual items we've got in front of us, here's your complimentary BBs. But don't be fooled into thinking that you can use this pistol straight out of the box, because there's no gas capsules included, just the BBs. You have this strange looking tool, but it is very, very useful, as I found. Don't you lose this, it's a great little piece. CO2 magazine, you can see where the capsule fits into this area here, screwed in place by a flathead screw underneath, part of that tool that I've just told you about. What I'd like to point out here though, very, very nice feature, the actual BB feed here is made out of metal. Very, very nice. And finally we come to the CZ75 pistol itself, a very, very handsome looking pistol. Maybe it's because I'm old school, I don't know, but this looks like a pistol to me, unlike some of those modern blocky looking things like the SIG that I've got that I'm going to show you in a minute when I do the ergonomic comparison. Now I've already said that the CZ75 is a very handsome looking pistol. Old school in that the back end part of it is classic CZ75, designed in the 1970s. Very, very nice. The front end is your blocky modern add-on to it with this rail here. Okay, kind of spoils the original CZ75 look, but still very, very mean. I quite like it. But let's have a look at the ergonomics in detail here. And first of all, let's compare it with the SIG. Now the SIG does have this shallow beaver tail here. The beaver tail is actually a support that helps you take in some of the recoil in the actual firearm, but it makes the gun fit into your hand very, very nicely. The CZ75 has this lovely mid-sized beaver tail here, this beautifully curved rear grip, and it just fits into your hand beautifully. That just rests on the top of your hand there and makes it feel very comfortable. Someone said this fitted the hand like a glove, and I have to agree with that. It's absolutely superb. Other ergonomic details are on the trigger guard here. You have the normal flat finger rest here for the two-handed grip. Your finger curls around there nicely. And finally, and perhaps the most importantly, and again we'll compare this with the SIG in a second, it comes out of the box with these lovely set of rubber diamond checkered grips. These are superb. They really are nice, and I'll tell you why. Here's the SIG again. Now it comes with these plastic stippled grips that you get on a lot of airsoft guns, particularly the cheaper plastic models. There is a little bit of tactile grip to these grips, but being plastic, they're a bit slippery. Now what I've done to get around that, and I'll show you another one of my pistols, my Glock here, That was the same, plastic stipple grip, but I've added a real steel Pashima grip glove. Now this is a rubber sleeve that goes over your normal grip, just to give it a bit more of a tactile and sticky feel to it. The SIG, as I say, isn't sticky at all. In fact, it's quite slippery in the hand. Now of course you might be wearing gloves with this most of the time, but if you are using it without gloves, I just don't like the feel of this. The CZ, on the other hand, is just terrific. It just fits into the hand snugly, and there's a real tactile feel to it. You really get to, and I hate to say this, but you really get a good grip with these grips. You know, it just points and holds fantastically well. I can't say enough about it ergonomically. All the controls are in a nice place, and I'll talk about the controls in depth in a minute. The safety, for example, is just nicely tucked under your thumb there. So, very, very ergonomic, very, very comfortable, very, very pointable pistol. Fantastic. You can probably tell already, I'm quite pleased with this. But let's have a look at the controls. Now let's have a look at the SIG and see how it operates. Now, of course, the main thing about a gas reservoir pistol is that the magazine holds the reservoir in it. Now, one of the main features and one of the reasons people prefer these gas blowback airsoft pistols over the electric type, which are uniquely practical in the UK with our cold weather, is because the operation is very, very realistic. Not only do you have, of course, the blowback, but the actual operation of the pistol resembles the operation of the real pistol very nicely. Okay, and I can show that in some of the controls. Let's just decock that. Safety, well, like I say, it's in a ludicrous place on the SIG. I just do not like this safety, and I much prefer the safety on the CZ75. But more importantly, when you're talking about the CZ75, there's a couple of controls here which the CZ doesn't have. And this comes down to the cocking difference between this gas reservoir pistol and the CO2. We can cock this naturally. It's not loaded, so the slide stays back in this open position. You can check your ports, quite good and realistic. As I've said, you can decock and deactivate slide. There's deactivation of the slide by this control up here. And also you have this really nice decocking feature, very nice safety feature. The CZ doesn't have all that. Being a slightly older pistol from the 70s, mid-70s, it doesn't have things like decocking buttons and things like that. It operates very conventionally as a pistol. You can rack the slide, and that activates the hammer like that. But if you want to decock, you have to do it in the old-fashioned way. And by the way, it helps if you take the safety off to do that. Do it in the old-fashioned way by depressing the trigger slightly and very carefully lowering the hammer. Stick the safety back on. Okay, so that's the controls aside from one, the mag release. A little bit of another difference here, and this is one of the minus points for this pistol, is that it is not a very positive mag button, it has to be said. I really find that I end up doing that terrible Hollywood thing where I slap my mags in with the heel of my hand to ensure that I've got a positive insertion of my mag. There's no audible or positive click as the magazine goes in. Now I'll compare that with my SIG. Mag out. Now listen to this. Hear that? Very, very positive. You know that mag's in. Okay? You don't get that with the ASG airsoft gun. It's a bit sloppy, it has to be said, and you end up you do that, and I don't like doing that. And there's a reason that real shooters, pistol shooters, don't slap the mags in like that, because there is of course always the chance that you might deform or damage the lips at the top of the magazine which hold the shells if you slam a mag in like that. But in this case I find that you have to do this to ensure that you've got a positive insertion of the magazine. Bit of a minus point there. Now let's have a look at some of the other operations and differences between the CO2 pistol and the gas reservoir pistol. Now there's a few functions that we should know about the differences between the CO2 pistol, or at least the CZ75, and a classic gas reservoir pistol like this. The SIG, as I said earlier, operates very much like the real thing. And in particular, and this is what I'd like to highlight, I mentioned it earlier, you can check your port. A very important safety function in a pistol. You can check down the port there to ensure there's not a round in the chamber. Of course I'm using these firearm terms, but from an airsoft point of view, you can check that there's not a BB down the chamber, as happens sometimes. And in that case you can actually use your little cleaning rod to poke out the BB that's in the chamber and check for safety reasons that you are not leaving a loaded gun. Okay? Even though it's an airsoft gun, it can harm people, and it's best to make sure you do not have a round in the chamber when you're finished your day's shooting. Now, the CZ75 cocks just like the SIG, but this is unloaded. The slide does not stay back, so you cannot check your port. But even more, if I pull the slide back like that, you can see that inside the ejection port you cannot see into the barrel. You have here some of the mechanism of the airsoft gun, including up here the little screw that adjusts the hop up. You cannot see down your port, you cannot see whether your gun's truly empty. You'll never know. There may be a BB stuck in here, you just don't know. Bit of a negative safety feature, and also a markdown for realism as well. But it doesn't affect the actual operation of the pistol itself. But one of the main differences that does is when we come to look at these two pistols as both being double action pistols. Let me tell you what I mean. Of course, any of you know anything about guns know exactly what I'm on about here. Double action is when you pull the trigger through and activate the hammer to shoot the gun. Single action pistols like the classic Colt 1911, you must rack the slide, okay, to activate the hammer and put a round into the chamber to fire. The pulling the trigger will only activate the hammer. It will not pull the hammer through in a single action gun. It only does that in a double action gun. This not only means that your gun is ready to fire with it round in the chamber, but with the hammer safely down, it also means it's quicker to get off that first shot without having to go through the single action racking of the slide. Okay, I'll just skip across that very quickly because you're not here to hear about gun history. What you're here to hear about is the features of the CZ75. Now, this is also a double action pistol, supposedly, although an airsoft replica, but look at this. No double action. It's not activating the hammer at all. This is not a safety feature. It just doesn't work in the airsoft version of this. Basically what ASG have done, I've given you what is tantamount to a single action version of a double action pistol. To activate the hammer, you either have to pull it back with your thumb or rack the slide. Okay, so again, marks down there for realism. Doesn't really affect the operation in the field. All you have to do, once of course your loaded magazine and gassed magazine in, is activate the hammer, like so. But not having that double action feature on what's supposed to be a double action gun, well, some people won't like that. There, bear with me guys. Sorry, this has been a bit of a meandering review here, but as I say, I haven't done this in a while. Okay, we're at the point where you need to know about loading the pistol, and this is the real meat of the CO2 gun, because of course the reason I got this is so I don't have to use stupid great big canisters of green gas, have gas spitting all over the place, or not working on really cold days. I am told that these CO2 cartridges work better in cold weather. I've yet to see this myself, so fingers crossed, but it seems to be a nice compromise if you don't like using non-blowback electric guns. But what we're here to talk about is loading. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll just get a used cartridge first of all to display this. Okay, used cartridge, you can tell because there's a little hole in the top of the cartridge here where it's been pierced before, so I can actually illustrate with this. Just move some of this out of the way. Okay, this is where this funny looking tool comes in. What you have to do with these little cartridges is fit them in here like this. Inside here is a little prong which will pierce the top of this cartridge. Now you have to do this very carefully. Okay, now to load them, first of all, when I tried this, and you might find this, you go, oh wow, it's not fitting in, it's not fitting in. You have to push this little cap forward here and rest your cartridge in the top of it, then release it and it'll go back in to the magazine. I hope all that was in focus and you were able to see it all right. Okay, I'll just do it once more. Okay, this little cap here, you just push it forward like that, insert your capsule on top of the cap and push the whole thing back in, and it fits neatly inside here. Now at this point what you do is get your little tool, and on the tool is this nice flathead screwdriver. You insert it into here and tighten that little cap up. That will push this cartridge tightly into the magazine, but at the same time allow the prong in the top of here to pierce the capsule, and you'll hear a definite hiss as some of the gas is released in. Now what you're supposed to do, and it tells you this in the manual, is as you're screwing this in and you hear that first release of gas, you've got to do this quickly because you don't want too much of the gas to escape, and I'll show you this in a minute. However, and here's the caveat, tighten this too much, you'll force the cartridge right up and all the gas will be released. So you'll probably use up a couple of cartridges when you first get this, just practicing as I did to get the right feel for it. And I'll just do that for you now. Okay, live cartridge. Let's hope we get this right. Okay, fix that in there. That's pushed in so it's flat in here. We get I hope this is all in focus for you guys. Sorry if it isn't. I'm on kind of manual here with the camera. Okay, that's my flathead screw in here. Okay, you can feel it positively going into the screw that's inside here. So we're all ready. So I'll listen out for this. Do you hear that? Just that little psst. That was the cartridge being pierced, and tiny little bit of gas escaped there. Don't tighten it much more than that. Okay, just a little bit of resistance, that's all you need in here. Tighten it much more and you'll release all the gas out that cartridge. You're ready to go. Loading the BBs. Okay, this is a lovely feature I like about this, and I wish my KG had this in the magazine. You pull the magazine slide down here, okay, and it's held in place, which is great. So then you can just, now this is going to be good because I'm trying to look at the camera screen and do this at the same time. Oh, men can't multitask. Okay, let's just load your babies in there. Oh, I'm making a dog's dinner of that. There we go. Well, nearly anyway. Now it takes 19 BBs. Once you put your BBs in, if you just see this little thing, just release that and it releases the slider on the spring back up here and holds your BBs nicely in place. Place, remember on safety, okay, place your magazine in, whack it in. Did you hear that as well? You heard a pronounced sort of like pff, as the gas came in contact with the mechanism up here. You're locked and loaded and ready to go. And I shouldn't do this in the wife's kitchen. Please do not tell anybody that I did this in the wife's kitchen, alright? Release my safety. You're going to tell, aren't you? I'll check the comments. Okay, she's ready to go, and okay, I've just shot a nice little hole in the wife's kitchen wall. Okay, I'll just do it again because I'm feeling saucy now. Lovely. That felt great. You know, that this is why we like blowback guns. And what I'll try and do is I'll try and do this in slow motion just so you can see the slide operating. But as I say, now I haven't got the safety on there, but you can see no double action. Let's get the safety on there. Now there's 19 BBs in this magazine, and for one of those little CO2 capsules I have managed to get 3 magazines worth out at full power. If you put the 4th magazine in, you know, reload the magazine with the 19 BBs, you can feel the pressure starting to go, and then eventually the slide will just not rack, and the whole action of the pistol will stop, and that's it. So 3 magazines worth out of one of those capsules, 3 magazines worth of 19 BBs. Okay, well, there's not that much more to say about this, but I'll just go over some of the minor details of this pistol to finish off this review. To wind up this review, I'll just give my final remarks, but before I do that, let's just cover a couple of minor details that I haven't covered in the central bit of this video review. Okay, now what this is to do with is the actual tool that comes with the ASG CZ75D. Now so far we've used this flathead screw here to secure the CO2 valve into the magazine. But there's 2 other parts to this tool at either end here. There's this small Allen key here. Okay, now what's that's for is to, if I open up the pistol like that, so you can focus in on there, that's to adjust the hop up, which is a small Allen screw inside here. And also you can adjust the rear sight again with a small Allen screw here. Okay, just decock safely. Right, at the other end though, this sort of hexagonal piece here is actually another tool, and this brings us to a very interesting point. ASG do some accessories for this, most notably a metal or plastic silencer, suppressor. You can also get a tactical light that goes on the rail at the bottom here, or indeed an adapter which takes a light and at the top a little holographic sight if you want to get into sort of like practical pistol shooting or something like that. But as I say, it takes a silencer. Now this is really clever, I thought, anyway, but I'm easily impressed, is you stick this hexagonal thing with the tool into your muzzle there and start unscrewing like this. And what this does, it takes out a plastic cap and reveals, hopefully you can see this maybe in there, maybe the light's not catching it, but there is a 14mm. Now I'm going to take a guess here, counterclockwise thread in here for a normal airsoft pistol suppressor. Very, very nice feature, I think. You just screw that back into there. Okay, now of course this does open up the possibilities that you may lose that plastic cap at some point. So make sure it is screwed in quite firmly there and take the tool out. Well, that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. The ASG CZ75D Compact CO2 Airsoft Pistol. It's an absolute beauty. I'm really in love with this. There is some downsides, as I've said, the realism of the controls, the fact that it's not really double action, but it doesn't actually affect the operation of its real use in the field. Talking of which, I am told that the power of this is somewhere around 350 FPS. So I personally wouldn't use this for CQB. You might be able to get away with it. Some sites might say that they have a limit of 350, but just simply for the comfort of my fellow players, I wouldn't feel happy bouncing a 350 FPS BB at close range from pistol in their head. I say this because it's actually happened to me and I didn't appreciate it one bit. I prefer my electric AEP, which runs about 200 FPS for CQB, just because of consideration of my fellow players, that's all. But in the field, this is superb then. 350, this will give you nice distance, and at the same time it gives you a nice positive feel in the blowback as well. It's suggested this runs with 2.5 gram BBs. I actually have stuck 3 grams, because I like the kick that you get with the heavier BB. At the close ranges I'll be doing target practice, I like the flat trajectory of the heavier BBs. In the field I'd use it probably with 2.5s. Okay folks, that's it. Sorry this was a really stumbling effort. It's just been so long since I've done this. I hope I've done this pistol justice. It's an absolute beaut. It really is, and it is instantly one of my favourites. It cost about 120 quid from Action Airsoft in the UK, and it, probably a little over the odds paying for this. It's your usual UK tax that we get taxed for paying over the odds, but I'm still happy with it. A beautiful pistol and well worth adding to your armoury.